Hello, and welcome to this episode on developing a winning attitude. Incidentally, developing a winning attitude is a chapter from my upcoming book, Unlock Your Possibilities. So we're working on it. We're pretty much there. Again, my goal has always been to review these chapters before the book is published. And this is one of the chapters that I'm reviewing today, Developing a Winning Attitude. And again, I welcome you. Now, success comes along by having the right attitude toward the men and women whose cooperation you would need for the achievement of your goals. In the book, I researched and discovered 9 different strategies that will help you develop a winning attitude. However, in this chapter, I'll share some of those strategies with you to get you started with building powerful relationships with those that can help you move toward the achievement of your goals. Furthermore, but let me emphasize that smiling more often and showing appreciation by leveraging the power of the thank you are really great attitudes to embody in your daily life. Remember, people with a good attitude and a good outlook on life tend to have a can-do approach to things, and most often they succeed. Now, Jim Rohn was a well-known personal and professional development coach. And in this winner's seminar entitled Take Charge of Your Life, he asks the audience to evaluate 2 statements that were made by 2 employees of the same company, how their attitude may be perceived by management. Now here comes one employee who says, if this is what they pay, I will work no more than the hours I'm approved to work. Now let's see what the other employee has to say. That employee says, if this is what they pay, I'll come to work early and stay until the work is done. Now let me give you another attitude appraisal. This time, take the example of the entrepreneur who's looking to get into the home remodeling business. Examine this example and see how successful this business person would be in this line of business. And I quote, the market is saturated with home remodeling, home improvement contractors. I just don't think I'll succeed in this business, he says. I begin this section with statements like these to stress one thing, that among the factors which really determine how successful you will be in life is the key word, attitude. And the dictionary definition of attitude is like it is a complex state of mind involving a person's belief, feelings, values, and disposition to act in certain ways. Now, in life, attitude is what determines the outcome of every activity we engage in. An attitude is a starting point for all the success you'd ever dream of. A bad attitude will ruin a successful organization, while a good attitude within a company can take that organization to the stratosphere. Again, in simple but very practical terms, attitude is what determines whether we succeed or fail, win or lose, become triumphant or defeated at anything, be it a personal or professional endeavor. For some, David Schwartz, in Thinking Big, says, there is something called the okay, I'll give it a try, but I don't think it will work attitude. While others say, wow, here's a great opportunity for me to go after the remaining 25% of the market. A great speaker once remarked that It is one's attitude at the beginning of an important task that determines your level of success in that particular activity. Likewise, Meister Eckhart offers the point of view that when you are thwarted, it is your own attitude that is out of order. In the same topic of attitude, Pat Riley, who is a former coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, affirms the position that if you have a positive attitude and constantly strive to give your best, eventually you'll overcome your immediate problems and find that you are ready for great challenges. Now, let me share this story with you. I had an employee who felt that no one could tell her anything. Her attitude was awful. She gossiped much of the time and seldom had anything positive to say about others. As one would expect, this employee influenced many of her colleagues in a negative way. Staff members who were previously amenable to working with others suddenly found themselves gossiping about their colleagues. Colleagues who were deemed innocuous prior to interacting with this employee. They talked about who was dating whom and who was engaged in surreptitious affairs to gain promotion in their departments. In a sense, the office atmosphere became toxic. Now, one Friday morning, staff members convened in the company's main lounge to discuss strategies to improve our slumping sales. Saturday, they concluded, that was the best time to meet for all. Plus, making such meetings bi-weekly paid strategy meetings. And I repeat, these were bi-weekly paid strategy meetings to last for no more than 1 hour. That became enticing for everyone. As a result, they were enthusiastic. But this one staff, who incidentally was a lone holdout, there was tremendous amount of buy-in by staff members. They were all eager to see the company turn things around. But despite the enthusiasm in the lounge, this staff opposed the Saturday meetings with the argument that weekends were hers and she preferred her personal weekend time to not be interrupted by work. Some of her colleagues even offered to brief her on the discussions the Saturdays she could not make it to the meetings. She countered that that was not sufficient. It wouldn't be the same, she said. I met with this staff and I personally assured her that I would share my notes with her to ensure that she didn't miss a thing. Nancy still refused to go along with the rest of the team. In fact, she became angry at me for coming up with the idea of the strategy meetings. As you might imagine, this employee and I were pretty much at an impasse. In the end, I had to make executive decision to move forward with the meetings. And she threatened to file a civil rights complaint against me for infringing on her personal time. But to me, that was not persuasive enough. I felt I had made enough concessions and patience to be able to move forward with attempting to find ways to resurrect the company's sales. Now, the irony in all her recalcitrance is Nancy was part of the management team that was expected to lead through compromises for the advancement of the company. So this rationale didn't cross her mind. It didn't. That she was part of the management team. It didn't matter to her that she enjoyed perquisites that many employees didn't have. How I spend my time, how I spend my weekend is my personal prerogative, she argued. Now, obviously became obvious that with this kind of poor attitude, one that permeated our offices and manifested from day to day in some of our employees, it's easy to guess what eventually happened to Nancy since that time. She never understood that, as Zig Ziglar would put it, her attitude, not her aptitude, determined her altitude in the company. A bad attitude, irrespective of how smart you are, can derail your career. I want to stress this. A bad attitude, doesn't matter how smart you are, can derail, again, your career, and sometimes even your life. Now, where necessary, it's important that you work with your team. Be a team player and make compromises for the good of the team. Take one for the team and the organization. Compromise. It's not a dirty word, by the way, especially when it's done for the benefit of everyone on the team. But what I find hard to believe is how people think they can continue to challenge the leadership structure in their organizations and still remain vital players in those organizations. Now, I just don't understand that. But to such people, I say that they must have read the wrong book or taken advice from the wrong person about relationships between one's attitude and their success in life. Now, folks, life is simple. It is people that complicate things. It's true when they say that life dishes you no more and no less than you deserve. A bad attitude equals bad results. Good attitude yields great results. And I think that's fair. When we follow directions, folks, cooperate with others, and accept constructive feedback from those above us. Now, some may call it sucking up. I call it growing up and learning to work with others whose backgrounds and experiences may be different from ours, but stand to benefit us. Therefore, let me suggest the following as you embark on the goal to improve your personal and professional relationship with others. That you pick your battles very carefully if you want to grow in your current organization or at what you're doing. Understand that a bad attitude is like a flat tire. You cannot go anywhere until you first fix it. I read where someone said that our attitude controls everything. And it's so very true. The author goes on to say that attitudes are a secret power working 24 hours a day for a good or bad outcome. It is of paramount importance that we know how to harness and control this great force. We need to summon our attitude at the right time and for the right reason. Then there are also those individuals who feel that for whatever reason, society owes them the world. They go around sulking their faces and blaming everyone they meet for their problems. Some even go as far as blaming their circumstances on events of the past as if to say that would change things. Now, in an attempt to find a rationale and an excuse for unacceptable behaviors, individuals with bad attitude will make statements like, I was once abused by my parents, or my parents didn't have money to send me to school. As a result, I've not been successful, and I can, as I could have been. You know, I could have done much better if this thing didn't happen to me. Now, even though this can be true, an abuse of any kind cannot be excused. The attitude of looking back at one's shortcomings seldom leads us to success. And the truth is, most of us can find plausible reasons, plausible excuses for our drawbacks if we want to. We can make excuses. Have a reason for not waking up in the morning. If I have an issue, I can make an excuse. Why I can't do this? Why I can't measure up? Excuses, though, will not yield any meaningful results. Here, once again, I'm reminded of the words of James Truslow Adams, who said that the greatest discovery of my generation is that man can alter his life simply by altering his attitude of mind. In other words, how high you get in life depends on your attitude toward the people you interact with from day to day. For that reason, you must understand that there are times when you're not able to choose the situations in which you find yourself. Good or bad, you have to dig through your mind and find the right attitude that will enable you to prevail in those circumstances, in those situations. That said, it is the attitude that you bring to those situations that will be responsible for your success or failure in those situations. Therefore, again, I urge you to embrace a positive attitude, one that is harmonious to prosperity and good health. Here's an example that may help shape your attitude as you move forward with your personal and professional goals. I may have mentioned this before, that I once owned and operated a computer training school. We performed extremely well in that business. Our company was sought after by Fortune 500 companies, including Champion Spark Plug Company. You know, it's right here in Toledo. To retain their staff, to retrain their staff in programming and the use of different business application programs. We even received commendations from George Voinovich, the then governor of Ohio, for the wonderful job we did in retraining the adult population in Toledo. Everything was going well when all of a sudden the bottom fell out and we lost 2 major clients. The clients we lost decided to go with competitors who offered what we believed were ineffective programs for the demands of a changing job market. At first, I had some misgivings about their decisions not to renew the contract with our company. I didn't see the coincidence of both clients leaving us at the same time. I just couldn't see that. I was convinced that the reasons these 2 companies chose other training facilities were much more than the price of our programs. Now, I then began to search for the culprit, those individuals whom I believed were responsible for the problems our company was facing. Next, I started to blame all the people who had something to do with our contracts. But as William James succinctly put it, whenever you are in conflict with someone, there is one factor that can make the difference between damaging your relationship and deepening it. And that factor is attitude, my friend. My company was going through serious financial problems. And instead of doing some serious introspection into what we were doing wrong, I embarked on a journey to blame others. Now, this helped me too. I learned a lot from it. I blamed the head of the Private Industry Council. It was called PIC, a county organization charged with the responsibility of placing displaced workers in training programs. I even blamed a friend who was the head of the HR department in a major company for failing to direct displaced workers to our organizations for retraining. However, as time went on, I was able to put some serious thoughts into my feelings. And during that time, I recall the saying that your attitude when you lose determines how long it will take until you win. Now, this caused me to conduct a genuine attitude appraisal of myself. In the process, I found out that I was doing a lot of blaming and finger pointing. I forgot the fact that businesses in America operate in a free market economy where everyone is free to choose. And as American Nobel Prize winning economist Milton Friedman put it, free to choose, as he put it in free to choose, the market, meaning the customer, is free to choose from whom they purchase their goods or services. The supplier, the seller, too. Those suppliers have the right to target their customers. In this case, depending upon any number of factors, the Private Industry Council had the right to choose its suppliers, meaning the one from whom it buys educational services for displaced workers. It was our responsibility to offer competitive programs that added value to our target audience, our target customers. Now, in the end, I modified my attitude and behavior and stopped the blame game, stopped blaming others. Modifying my attitude and behavior then enabled me to search for better options as well as clients. That is, to concentrate on improving our business, which I did. However, I'm sorry to say that in the end, I failed in that business. But the lessons that I learned from that venture have helped me develop a better mental attitude and disposition on my journey to a more productive and successful life. Now, this brings me to another important concept. Knowing when to say when, accepting defeat when all available options have been exhausted. It's one thing to take a licking, but it's another thing to accept it and to learn from it. And I have learned important life lessons from that failure. To listen. I've become a better listener as a result of that experience. Another benefit I derived from my interaction with the Private Industry Council officials is that I have become a more thoughtful and slower to react than ever before. I am more aware of my surroundings than ever before too. It's been said that every successful person at some point has had to come face to face with adversity and deal with it. Therefore, my advice to you is this. If you ever fail, which just about all of us have at one time or another, at any important enterprise, if you ever fail at any important enterprise, do not feel bad. It's impossible to live without failing at something unless if you have been cautious throughout your life in ways that never challenged you. In that case, you truly have failed right from the outset. But most successful people, though, have failed several times in business before they finally succeed. An example with Walt Disney, for example, was a high school dropout who suffered bankruptcy and repeated financial missteps before transforming the entertainment industry into the mega empire, the Walt Disney Company. What you want to remember is your attitude during adversity, especially when you fail, is what matters the most. How you react is what will determine how well you will emerge from it. Now, when we talk about attitude, it makes me reflect on how even at an early age, my parents used to tell me to smile more and to be nice to others. They used to say that, again, if you do these things, God will lead you to a path of abundance. It never really dawned on me that my parents were teaching me how to develop a good and healthy attitude. Well, today, we know from psychology that people with great attitude smile more frequently, interact positively with others, and pass to the world a healthy disposition. In return, they're able to handle difficult situations and people better than others. If I'm not mistaken, there are studies which draw conclusions showing a direct relationship between success and a positive attitude. That is, people with a good attitude and outlook on life tend to have a can-do approach to things. And more often, yes indeed, they succeed. Such individuals very rarely lose their cool. If they're bothered by someone or by an issue, people with a good attitude will deal with it in an amicable way and move on. They do not have room for vengeance or vendetta. They have more important things on their minds. They know that the important task they are about to enter is not an easy one. However, they also know that the task is not inaccessible. In fact, the task is achievable. So they work hard on it, make a few detours, and will not abandon the task until it is successfully completed. That's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't, between those who win and those who say, I'll lose my pants if I embark on this project. No, I don't want to do it. I want to try. People with a courageous attitude have the heart of a lion. They neither shrink nor shy away from a good fight. Now, I think this is a good stopping point because this is a great chapter. I really, really spent a lot of time to really bring materials that would help you. Now, I'm going to extend this to another episode. There I'll give you the strategies. I have 9 strategies that I researched and discovered as to how you can really develop your attitude. And what I want to do in the next episode is to share with you some of those strategies. So until then, I thank you for listening, but also do not forget the title of the book is, I'm sure you know it by now, the title of the book is Unlock Your Possibilities. And developing a winning attitude is one of the 11 chapters of the book. So stay with me. We're going to get this done, and I'm sure you're going to get a copy of this book. And again, the title of the book is Unlock Your Possibilities. Until then, I thank you for listening, and I thank you for watching as well.